A coalition of 8 Nigerian civil society organizations are worried that insecurity may affect the conduct of the 2023 national elections. It's calling on the federal government to ensure that the military is fully empowered to subdue terrorism. The Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room, at a briefing in Abuja, made the observation over the state of the nation and incidents that have taken place in the first and second quarters of the year, this year. The CSOs are asking President Muhammadu Buhari to rejig the nation's security architecture to combat the worsening insecurity.
The state of insecurity in the country has deteriorated so much that most parts of the country are now threatened by non-state armed men with various nomenclatures like the bandits, is it Boko Haram, Islamic State of West Africa, kidnappers, and unknown gunmen. So Situation Room calls, therefore, is making the following calls. The entire security architecture of the country should be rejigged by President Muhammadu Buhari to combat the worrisome expansion of insecurity in the country. The service chiefs should be removed, as we have not seen the difference between the time they have been appointed, or be equally given more powers, because what we see is political interference in the security apparatus.
Well, co-convener Civil Society Situation Room James Ugochukwu and a security analyst Femi Dari join us on Newsday to discuss the growing insecurity and how it could affect the 2023 elections. Great to have you both, and thank you for joining us on Newsday.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. For having me. Cynthia is speaking with you, but Hawa is here, of course. Thank you. Well, James, I'll start with you. We were just having a conversation, and I feel a little, off asking this, but what does it mean when we say we need to have the security in our country rejigged? What's your interpretation of what we just heard?
Well, what we mean by rejigging the security is that if you recall, some time past, some couple of years back, we cried out that the service chief should be replaced because of the increasing spate of insecurity. And over time, since the removal of the previous service chief, we have not seen any marked improvement in the security of the country. And as it is, we are still witnessing a situation where the insurgents get so close to the Federal Capital Territory, the seat of power, where they attacked a correctional facility, releasing some hardened criminals and high-profile terrorists into the society. So this gives us a serious worry and a serious question if the security is actually working. Because the question you're asking yourself is, how did these insurgents gather? How did they travel all the way down to the security facility without the military checkpoint, the police intelligence, and all that apprehending them? And as if that is not enough, they carried out their operations successfully, some say up to 30 or 1 hour, 30 minutes or 1 hour, and there was no counterattack by the security, Nigerian security. And again, they took this number of people out of the correctional facility without anybody stopping them. These are the things that make us to call to question if the security operatives are actually living up to their assignment to protect the country, because we are looking at this happening in the Federal Capital Territory, the seat of power. And to worsen that, we are looking at the attack on the Brigade of Guard, which is the elite force that are supposed to be protecting the number one person in this country. So these are the things that gives us all this worry, and we say that if the service chief and the other ones that are in power now cannot perform their duty the way it is, then it's high time the commander-in-chief needs to consider rejigging them. And rejigging them means that he should appoint people that is going to give a clear mandate and timeline to flush these people out of our territory. Because the job of the military is to protect the territorial integrity of this country. And what we are seeing now is that these insurgents, because they are Sahelian terrorist group, really. Sahelian terrorist group that move all the way from the top of Sahel or the north of Africa down to Nigeria. And when they get here, they start recruiting people that are already jobless to cause all these problems. In other parts of West African region, they don't do this. The other day I was, with African Defense Forum magazine, and what they were saying is that, look, that these terrorists are tempted to start causing havoc in Togo, and they give them a very hot chase, and they escape to Nigeria. That statement that they escape to Nigeria gives me a goosebump. So it means that Nigeria is a safe haven for these people to operate. So what we are looking at is that the security operatives should wake up to their responsibility and give these bandits the hot chase they deserve, because this is still the same Nigerian security that brought peace in Liberia, one of the best security forces in the world. They should wake up to their responsibility, take this war to the domain of these terrorists and flush them out. That's what we're expecting. And if they can't do that, then the commander-in-chief should do what he needs to do. He's the commander-in-chief, and his life is even being threatened. They've already said that he is the next person they want to kidnap. So now that they've threatened him, is he going to wait till he's kidnapped? Because his elite force, the Brigade of Guard, were attacked right here in this Federal Capital Territory. They even attempted another attack in his convoy in Daura, in Katsina State. So it's a wake-up call for him to wake up to his responsibility, because he took an oath to protect lives and property in Nigeria, of Nigerians. Okay, lives and properties of Nigerians are not being protected. Now his own life is being threatened, and we can't take it anymore. Nigerians are living in fear. They cannot travel. The case of Nigeria is that of a gamble, death dodging. People move from one place to the other, taking chance that maybe they will not die while going to where they are going, and maybe they will come back. So that death dodging, like an antelope in the gazelle, in the Sahel, is not what we want. We want the life of Nigeria to be protected. We want the life of the president to be protected.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that,
This is something we need as we are moving towards 2023 election.
Mr. Ugochukwu, thank you so much for that. I'd like to bring in Mr. Femi Dare now. First of all, I'd like to know if you agree, with this so-called rejigging of the security architecture. Will the firing or replacing service chiefs, is that really the solution to this crisis? That's the first part. And then it does seem like the security crisis is getting worse as 2023 approaches. What impact is this likely to have on the polls if left unchecked?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. Nice to hear from you again. My opinion to that is that, first and foremost, we know the security is not something you buy off the shelf. And, changing the service chief, in my opinion, is not a silver bullet to solve the security problem in Nigeria. The only thing that we have to change now is strategy. How do we approach the insecurity in our country? Because security, for me, is not what you buy off the shelf. And like I always tell people, you don't buy security off the shelf. If you cannot anticipate crime, you cannot stop it. Oftentimes, we've seen the ideology behind this insurgency and what they really want to achieve in our country. Their target, they have specific targets in mind. They're targeting public places because they want to be in the news. And they're really for being in the news because they want to get more funding, be able to recruit people into the and they're using the media as well as their own tool, because don't forget, we know that the past government have not actually taken security the way it should be. I think the first thing we need to emphasize in our country is the border. We need to put more focus. We need to be intentional on how we protect our borders. All over the world, America, for example, they have the largest law enforcement agency covering the border protection. So if we don't take care of our borders the way we should, then anything are coming to our country. Like the other speaker was saying, people coming in from Togo and they find it safer in Nigeria because we have porous borders. So we need to put more emphasis on that. Government should look at how we can get people recruited into the forest guards, like we used to have in the 80s. These people are very, they just strategy is they just bring fear, target, public places so they can be in the news. And the fact they're being in the news is give them opportunity to recruit members. So we must have a way, the media, the narrative, how the attack of the terrorists is being explained to Nigerian people. Because we must describe them the way they should be described. These are just criminals. And if we are able to bring the people to buy into this war, which unfortunately the government is not doing, the government is able to let the people know that everything belongs to all of us. This media is infiltrating Nigeria because of our government resources. And these guys are coming with ideology, Taliban ideology. If only you know how this Boko Haram started, how the peer pressure, injustice, and all of that, crystallized into the civil rights in Nigeria today. If those issues are not addressed, it's going to be difficult to solve the war. Because each day there's an attack, it's an opportunity for them to get more funding. Each day there's an attack, it's an opportunity for them to recruit more members into their group. And the welfare they give to their members is what the government is not giving to these people. So the government has to find a way to balance both. And again, the media must also have a role to play, whereby the way the narrative, how we bring this narrative of this book, we should celebrate more of the defeat of this insurgents. The defeat, each time there's a military attack and they get defeated or they are killed, that should take the center stage in our communication. So that Nigerians begin to see that there's no reward for such acts. I mean, the election is around the corner, and I'm very sure that if we're able to bring Nigeria into buying this, into this war, the success is guaranteed.
And we do know that voter apathy is the topic of discussion and something that we're all quite worried about. But a lot of solutions or semi-solutions have been proposed in the last couple of months by a few different characters. Afenifere leader and also the Zamfara state governor have called for individuals to arm themselves in an effort to combat this. There has also been talk about the national banning of motorcycles across the country. I'm just wondering, and this is for you, James, out of all these solutions or proposals that are being bandied, it seems like we're just throwing things against the wall to see what sticks, which seems like the most likely step forward in order to ease some of the fears that Nigerians will have surely trying to get to the polls in February of next year.
Well, I think the idea of calling on Nigerians to arm and defend themselves is ill-conceived. Ill-conceived in the sense that this is a country that firearms are not legalized. So you are asking somebody to come and pick firearms and start doing what at what time? Those are the questions we should be asking. And we are looking at picking what kind of firearms to face terrorists with sophisticated military-grade firearms. So these are the issues we should be interrogating ourselves. Then you say you want to ban the motorcycle and all that. This is a country that the unemployment rate is standing at 33.3%, and youth unemployment is about 45.6%. or so, according to National Bureau of Statistics. So, and you look at the motorbike, should I call it industry now? The Okada industry now is mostly a youth subsector. So, by the time you ban this Okada now and or motorcycle, where are those guys going to find employment? I remember I told you earlier that these terrorists are Sahara or Sahel terror groups that comes into Nigeria and they recruit jobless youths to perpetrate this heinous crime that they are going about doing. So for me, I think, like we said in the civil society, 80 of us cannot be wrong. What we want is that the Nigerian security architecture should wake up to their responsibility. The police is saddled with the responsibility of internal security, and the army is saddled with the responsibility of protecting the territorial integrity of the country. So if Togolese army can stop terrorists from entering their country, then Nigerian army, which I know are very strong, are well respected all over the world, can stop these guys from penetrating. And for those that are penetrated, they can actually tackle them and eliminate them. We have the best intelligence agency in Nigeria. We have intelligence report and all that. They should begin to start acting on it. Enough of all this laxity that is causing all this. The police should strengthen their internal security by depending on intelligence, working with the community so that the community people can give them good information and intelligence that can lead to apprehension of all these criminals in our society. And going towards 2023 election, of course, we cannot achieve that by asking the citizens to go and arm themselves and start fighting people that are well-trained and have more understanding of this warfare than the citizen. The people in the security sector need to do their job because that's what they are being paid for and that's what they have been trained to do. They should wake up to their responsibility and carry out this and protect the country for us, because as they are protecting the country, they are protecting themselves, and the whole society will be at peace as we are moving towards 2023. Because as we said in our previous release in May 2020, about some couple of months back, the insecurity can threaten the progress of the election. Because we are looking at some communities in the country that are under the control of these terrorists, especially in Niger State. The governor has shouted that some of his community have been occupied by these terrorists. We are looking at from that axis to bringing Buhari in
James, I'm so
Kaduna
sorry.
State. As we speak, they are still kidnapping people in. James,
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but we're running out of time. But I really would like to address your point where you're saying, you know, the security of soldiers or the military and the police need to wake up to their responsibilities. Is that really a fair assessment that they're not awake to their responsibilities? Because according to what Chris Beecroft, Director of Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office of the United Kingdom says, he says, even though that's an issue, that one other thing, or the other solution is that Nigeria is that there's need for reconciliation, mediation, arbitration, and access to justice as well. And these are areas that haven't been covered by the government. So is it fair to really say that they're not awake to their responsibilities because they're also being killed?
Yeah, they have always been killed. And of course, if you look at it from this angle where the FCDO man put it, we are looking at people that are invading our country. It cannot happen in any country. So somebody that has a sole mission of destruction and everything should be met with equal force before we talk about justice and reconciliation. So these people, the fight should be taken to their doorstep and they should be dealt with the way it's supposed to be. Of course, the military have tried in their campaign and all that, but they need to step up and ensure that they push these guys out. We should want to make sure that no single territory in Nigeria is being occupied by non-state actors.
Now, just before we go, Mr. Femi Dare, just before we go, I'd like you to wrap up this segment for us. So what then would you say is the step forward? Are you reassured by all what is happening lately with the president saying that he's given the military full powers, he's given them full freedom to go ahead? We've also had threats of impeachment. Is that enough to actually get the federal government to wake up and do something?
Yeah, I feel that I just hope it will not be abused. First and foremost, I think most of the commanders have been replaced. They've been ongoing reshufflement and information. So a lot of people are on their side because money rules the day. You know, if at the end of the day we are able to identify the fact that because they have so many informants all over the place that feed them information, and a lot of Nigerian law enforcement, most of them probably been compromised. So there has to be a constant reshuffle position of those that are closest to the people that lead the command. So that I feel will come up with new strategies. But again, we must also address the issue of our own level of culture. An average police officer, security agency goes to work and just feel every day will be the same. So most of the time they are not as authentic. They are not, they're not.
Yeah. Well,
they don't anticipate these things.
Femi Dare, I have to interrupt you here. We have run out of time, unfortunately. Thank you so much for joining the conversation, as well as James Ugochukwu.